Hi guys, and welcome to this video on setting up and solving simple nonlinear equations. This is an optional topic. My name's Darren. Thank you very much. Hopefully it finds you well. Yes? Awesome. I'm the Maths Guru, and if you haven't already watched any of my videos, it's my job to try and break down all the rubbish that other people spout off out there and make it understandable for you. Yes, in a slightly wacky and weird style using kissy kisses, bunk beds, and whatever else. I know, bear with me, I'm getting there. If you can do me a favour and subscribe to my YouTube channel, I would be grateful. It'll stop me from sitting in a room talking to myself and thinking that no one's watching. Literally, that click of that button makes me extremely happy, probably more happy than it should. And then there's mathsguru.com that is there for all these videos, downloadable notes, exam questions, time codes, blah, 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 and so much more coming, all right? So if you head over there, greatly appreciated. And obviously tell your mates, yeah? Actually, stop what you're doing now, turn to the mate to your side and say, log on to Maths Guru. He actually seems all right. I am all right, I trust you. Learning objectives, know how to set up and solve simple non-linear equations. Now, as I say, this is optional. And you may turn around and say, nah, don't need to watch it. It's optional. I'm not making any more work than I have to do. But actually, you've already got all the tools you need. Your CAS calculator can do all the hard work for you. You just need to know how to use your CAS and understand what a non-linear equation looks like. In a previous video, we looked very much at the idea of reverse operations. Yes, because we need to know how to undo things. If we have a plus on one side of an equation, we want to get rid of it, we subtract. If we have a subtract, we do a plus. A times and divide are the opposite of each other, and a couple of others, right? And I've sort of said there that we have an x squared can be undone by taking the square root of that value. And likewise, the square root of something, we can find out what it is by squaring that whole thing. That will turn me back to x. Happy with that? No? Don't worry about it. I'm about to show you what it is. But linear versus non-linear. What on earth do we mean by linear versus non-linear? Right. Non-linear equations will have floaty numbers. End of. It'll be an x and it'll have a floaty number. And in this situation, as I say there, it could be x with a floaty 2. It could be x with a floaty 3. I'm going to show you what that sort of looks like in a moment. But whenever I have an x with a floating number, the graph or the equation or whatever that thing is not going to be a straight line. It's going to be a curve of some description, yes? Now, we can use the idea of x squared equals 49. Well, we know that x squared, we know how to undo a square now. We can use the inverse operation by taking the square root of both sides, yes? And that's exactly what it is. There is a button on your calculator. Funnily enough, it looks like a square root sign as well. I can't remember what it is on the TI Inspire, but look, it's something on the plus or the minus, or the, no, it's not actually. Anyway, ignore me. Now, if you put that into your calculator, as I did, if you do the square root of 49, your calculator is actually going to give you just one answer. And sadly, that's not true. There isn't just one answer. There is, in fact, always two answers to a square root. I'm going to tell you why. What is 7 times 7? Okay, 49. Well, what is minus 7 times minus 7? Hold on a moment. It's also 49. So the square root of 49, which is effectively saying what number, when multiplied by itself, gives you 49, actually has two answers. It has both positive 7 and negative 7, which we can write in a simplified form as a plus minus 7. So always remember there's two answers, and I'm going to show you where on your calculator you can get both of those answers. But here we go. Don't take my word for it. Remember, we were looking for floaty numbers in an equation. Do you see any floaty numbers in this? Now you're going to say no, there's no floaty numbers. There actually is. There is a floaty number on the x, and it's the number 1. But what's the one number we don't ever have to write down? A 1. Exactly. So that has a floating number, but it's not a 2, a 3, a 4, or whatever else. So that is what we call a linear equation. And when I put it into a funky piece of math software online called Desmos.com, and I put that equation in, I get that straight line. What do you notice here? I've now got an x with a floating number. It's a floaty 2. And when I put that into my Desmos and draw it, what do you notice? Very much not a line. So knowing what's a linear equation and what's not a linear equation is going to be really, really important. So, as I say here, solving nonlinear equations, we'll go back to now a different example. So, x squared is equal to 81. What number, when multiplied by itself, gives me 81? Well, another way of writing that is the square root of 81. And if you remember now, that's going to give you 9, both positive and negative. And do you notice that's what I was saying a moment ago? That's how we say two values, both positive 9 and negative 9. Putting it into my calculator, it only gave me that one value. But if I actually type in solve, or use the solve function, x squared equals 81, comma, x, what do you notice your calculator gives you? It says x equals -9 or x equals 9. It gives you the two values. So sometimes using the solve function makes life a lot easier, particularly with higher floaty numbers. Now in this situation, we have the example a cubed is equal to -512. That basically says what number when multiplied by itself 3 times gives you -512. Now if you're interested to be able to write that, we actually keep that square root sign, but what we do is we actually put a number 3 there to say it's a cube root. So that little sign there is a root sign, and then when we put a 3, it says the cube root. Now, I don't know what that is in my head, so again, I've used my calculator and I've said solve, open the brackets, a cubed equals -512. Don't forget the comma, and then say that we want to find the letter A, or can the calculator tell me what A is? Now in this situation, hold on a moment, there's only one value. And that's right. When we have a floaty 3, a floaty 5, a floaty 7, a floaty 9, there is only ever one value. Ka-ching! The surface S of a sphere of radius r is given by that equation. So we know that S is equal to 4 times pi times r squared. Now again, it doesn't really matter whether you know what it is, because the question tells you, yes, that it has a radius of r. So this thing here stands for the radius. Pi is just a number on your calculator that you can find. And what else is there? S is the surface area. Everything else we know. So it says find the radius of, so we're going to try and find r with a surface area of 600. So there's my formula. I tend to always substitute next. So it told me that S is 600. 600 is equal to 4 times pi times r squared. What did I do then? I literally banged it in my calculator. There's no way I'm trying to do that in my head. Yes, you can unpack it. It's just going to be disgusting. But when I put it into my calculator, what do you notice? It gave out answers that look pretty horrendous. Now, in a previous video, we noticed that there was something called a prop frac. Is that going to help us here? Absolutely not. The answers there are what we call exact. And my calculator was actually in a wrong mode. And it's been in a wrong mode for some time, and I keep meaning to change it. But in this video, I thought, let's just change it. Another way of doing it on the TI Nspire Express, I think it is Control and Enter. But the thing is, you've got to copy the equation down and do Control and Enter again and whatever else. So in the end, I went, nah, stuff it. I went Home, Settings, Document Settings, and you'll notice here we've got a calculation mode with 3 options: Auto, Exact, and Approximate. Now, obviously, Auto, it's going to try and choose the best one for you, but it feels a little bit like it's mind reading. So what I actually changed it to was Approximate, which means it will always give decimal answers. Now that might be nice for most questions, but there are going to be questions that you are going to trip up because you actually wanted it in the what we call exact form. So just be careful, you know, about your calculator. Yes? So in this situation there, when I turned it back, it gave me a radius, I changed screen. It gave me a radius is equal to minus, what does it want it to? It didn't say, let's do it to one decimal place, minus 6.9. or r equals 6.9. Now, while there are 2 values, which one makes sense? Well, what on earth would a negative radius look like? What would a negative distance look like? It doesn't make any sense. So in this situation, we'd have to use our common sense and say, well, we can't have a negative value of radius, so we're actually going to have a radius of 6.9. Again, one more example. A circular garden is planted with a radius of 4 meters. What is the area? Well, I've told you that the area of a circle, which is one of those things you should know, is pi times the radius squared. What have they given you? They've given you the radius of 4 to find the area. So there's my formula. We're going to substitute in my value of r. So that's pi times 4 squared. And in that situation, I don't need to rearrange. I don't need to use the solve function because everything I'm looking for is on the right-hand side of my equals. And so putting it into my calculator, and it wants it corrected 2 decimal places, gives me 50.27. Again, if you don't have to run to 2 decimal places, you're going to have to learn really quickly. And what are my units? Well, it gave me the units of radius as meters, and so my area is going to be meters squared. There's so much in there that people get tricked with. You've got to get your units right. Area is floaty 2, and make sure you can round to 2 decimal places. One more example, the intensity I of light as a depth of d centimeters in a colored liquid is given by that formula. So again, I is the intensity, is 4800 divided by d, which was what, the depth, and squared. for values of d greater than 5 centimeters. I don't think that's relevant to this at all. Find the intensity of light at a depth of 10. So what have they given you? They've given you the value of d as 10. Right, we'll substitute it in. So this formula, substitute 4800 divided by 10 squared. Do I need to use my solve? Nah, because I've got the I on its own already, and so I can just put that into my calculator, and what you notice is out comes the value of 48. Do I know the units of intensity? Nope. So in that situation there, I'm just going to leave it as I have 48. I'm sure there's units, I just don't know what they are. There we go. Brilliant, end of this video. It was an optional one. Hopefully you found it useful. You already know this stuff. Your calculator does it for you. I'm done. Subscribe to the YouTube channel if you can, mathsguru.com, and let your mates know. But otherwise, I'll see you hopefully in another video. Are you finding this useful? Leave a comment below in my YouTube. Yep, otherwise, stay safe. Take care.